guys, and welcome to Kel's Stitches. Today I am going to be
Hello.
Today I am going to be doing a fabric dyeing video, which is going to be the first in the series that I said that I would do. So today I am just going to be doing the full immersion technique. Because I don't want any mottling or anything on the fabric. I just want it the one flat colour all the way through. So that will be the full immersion. Now, just a disclaimer, I am not a professional dyer or fabric dyer or anything. It's just something that I've picked up, I've done for many, many years. And this is just the way that I dye my fabric and find to get good results. It's also the I dye it this way because I find that I don't get any when I wash the fabrics and that, I don't get any running of the dyes or anything out of them. So I'm not professional fabric dyer. I probably don't know the complete science behind everything and why dyes react differently to different fabrics and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is just my way of how I dye my fabrics. So to start with, the tools that you will need is obviously a bucket. Because it is a full immersion, you are going to need at least 1 to 2 litres of the solution. So you need something that's going to hold that much of the liquid. So a bucket, just some table salt, just your cooking salt. It can be iodized or not. I'll explain why I use that. Just a bowl to mix the dye in, and I've just got a little measuring cup there. And then of course you are going to need your dye colors. So today I am going to be using fuchsia and indigo are the 2 colors to make the color that I am wanting in my fabric. You will also need a cake pan or something that is going to be oven proof, because I will be putting it in the oven to bake for a little while for the heat. The heat allows the dye to set in the fabric properly. And of course you need your fabric. So today I have a piece of 18 count Aida, which is going to be the piece for the project that I am intending this for. I have a piece of, I think it's 25 count, could be 28 count. It's one of those, I think it might be 25 count. Even weave, and a piece of linen, but it's not the linen that we generally use as stitches. It's more like a dress linen, but it hopefully should show the same results. I've got the 3 different styles of fabric because I just want to show you how the dye takes in different fabrics. Like the color variations, even though it will be the same dye bath, there may be color variations in the fabrics. All right, so now to get the colors you want, you can just wing it and make up your own colors and however you want. Or you can get onto the RIT dye. Is that going to focus? Probably not. So you can get onto the RIT dye website. So I'm just going to use this top one here because it is the Australian one. So as you can see, it shows you all of the products as you go down. We don't really need to see that anyway. If we go over here to this, you've got your home, your about, your shop, and your RIT, and you can search your products. Now I'm trying to find, because they've changed it since I last. So all-purpose dye. So the dyes I'm using are just your all-purpose dye for your cotton fabrics. For your even weaves, you probably should use your synthetic dyes, which is these, which are your RIT dye more. They're the ones that you should use for your synthetic fabrics, because your even weaves and that have a little bit of polyester in them. Let me just try to find what I am looking for. No, I don't want to shop it. So I haven't quite got all the colours of the RIT dye range. I am in the process of doing that, but I haven't got all the colours. So just trying to find the correct. Okay, I think I was on the wrong one. All right, so maybe try this one, which is ritdye.com, and then it comes up like this, and it will show you all different ways. No, I don't want to do that. Now, so you go down to RIT all-purpose dye and you go view colors. And then you can choose all liquid or powder. I will choose liquid because that is what I am working with. I do have some powdered dyes, but so that shows you all of the colors there. And that just that little drop down, it just shows you, and if you press on that, it'll just if we go blues, it will show you all the blues available in the range. Now let me just see. All right, so what I just done was I just pressed the little toggle up there. There we go, that's better, it's in focus now. So you can select your language. Now for me is obviously English. I'll go back up there. What the? English, not whatever I pressed. Alrighty. Now you can see there you've got your products, you've got your colour formulas, your how to dye, your techniques, your project ideas, frequently asked questions, a contact and a store locator. So what I'm going to do is go colour formulas. Now it asks us, are you using RIT all-purpose dye or RIT dye more for synthetics? So we're using all-purpose, so I will click on that one. Now it says, do I want to filter by products? No. Do I want to filter by collections or collaborations? And the colors is all colors. So that just shows you all the different colors that you can actually do. Now, if you just press on whatever button was I pressed on, you work with what I already have. So then you go and mark all of your colors that you've got, and it will bring up the colors that you can do. So I'm just going to mark fuchsia and indigo for today, because that should bring up the color that I want. And this is all of the colors that you can make with just those two. Now I'm trying to think which one. That's called Purple Poppy. If you press on it, it'll bring it up and it'll ask you the item size. Now you should always go probably smallest size that you possibly can, but none of that is, let me see if we go other. No. Usually it allows you to bring up socks, which is probably enough because it's usually 1 litre. What if we go table runner? 11.5 meters. No, I don't want to use that much. Cushion cover, 11.5. Why is there no socks on here? Undergarments. All right. So this is the color I actually want, is the grape jelly packets. Now, it still doesn't have socks on here. Anyway, I did do this beforehand, and I took a screenshot of it. Oh no, here we go. There we go, smaller. So you got socks, tights, buttons and ribbons, a skein. So it actually shows you how much you need to make for a skein. Let's do that. So your metric measurements is 7 milliliters of fuchsia and 1 milliliter of indigo to get this color. And that makes it 1 liter. But I usually, so all of these are probably going to be the same. Yeah, so I just went with the socks size. So that is what I am going to be using, is 7 milliliters of the fuchsia and 1 milliliter of the indigo in 1 liter of water to get what they call grape jelly packets color. So just get on and play around on the Rit Dye website. It's interesting. You do have to just get used to it, play around. Some colors won't allow you to go smaller, but all you do is, for example, if you wanted a smaller, this one, back to Purple Poppy, it only allows you, the smallest you can go is 11.5 litres, but I don't want to use 11.5 litres, and that's for a pair of jeans anyway. So what I would do is I would probably break that down into quarters and only use a quarter of the measurement for what they are telling you. So say 11.5 litres, you would go It'd be just over 2 litres, and then it'd be like 1.75 mil of the indigo and about 15 mil of the fuchsia, just to get the same colour. It may not be exact to that colour, but it'll be pretty bloody close. So I am using the grape jelly packets colour, which as I said, I screenshotted it. All right, so now to mix the dye up without dropping my phone in the water. So I take my bowl, and I take my salt, and I just put a good pinch of salt in the bottom of that. And then I use hot water. So you can use boiling water out of the kettle, but most of the time the water out of your hot tap will be hot enough. Just a little bit more. Alright, so that's 500 ml. So I'll need double that. And then all I do is I just mix the salt into the water, wait for, and you got to make sure that the salt is completely dissolved in the bottom of that. Now, what the salt does is it helps to set the dye. There's a bug in the water. So the salt helps to set your dye bath. Alright, so I will just set that there and hope that it doesn't fall off. Now we get our 2 colours, and I'll give them a good shake because they've been sitting there for a while, and I have, they all they do settle to the bottom. So I'll give them both a good shake up. Now, that'll be close enough. Another thing that you can use instead of one of these, which is just a cough syrup measuring cup, is a little pipette. So that goes to 3 ml. Now, what we need is 7 ml of fuchsia. And I haven't even opened this before, so have to somehow get this open without spilling it all over the place. Now you may want to wear a pair of gloves too. Actually, I will go and grab a pair of gloves because yeah, you will stain your fingers, as you can see from there. My fingers are stained, and that's just getting the thingy on the top. So I've just gone and grabbed a pair of disposable gloves. Oops, and just ripped them. That's all right. As long as I don't tip the dye solution down the glove, I'll be all fine. Okay, so 7 milliliters of fuchsia. so that is 3. Put that in there. And we need another 3. So as you can see, I'm just trying to draw it right up to the 3 milliliter line, and that one goes in there as well. And then we need another mil, which is the very bottom one. Alright, so that's just 7 milliliters of that one. I'll put it back over here. I'll just grab another one of these so I don't have to wash it. And 1 ml of the indigo. Have I? Yes, I have obviously used the indigo before. So we will try to get 1 ml of that sucked up. And that goes in there as well. And I'll put it back over here. Now, I'll just grab this spoon and mix this around. And then I will tip that into the bucket. As you can see, that is a lovely purple colour as it went in. And I'll just get another 500 ml and tip that one in as well. And I honestly don't think that that amount is going to be enough to fully dye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep adding until I think that's enough, and then I will might actually be enough. So what I'm going to do is, because now I've got about 3 litres in there, that dye is going to be very light. So I will just add some more dye in. So we go 7 ml of the fuchsia. And 1 ml of the indigo. Stir that around again, and that's your dye bath ready. Now I always wash and wet my fabrics before I put them into the dye solution. That is just to open up the weave of the fabric so it's already waterlogged in a sense, and it will take the dye up better. So that's the linen. Just squeeze the excess out, and I will just dump that in there. Then this is the even weave. As you can see, the even weave is not taking up the water as well. It takes a little bit longer, a little bit more. Okay, that one can go in. And now my Ada. Now the Ada is one that you really do need to wet before you put in the dye bath. because of the starch. It just gets all the starch out and once again opens up those fibres for dyeing. And that one can go in, and we will just mix those around. As you can see, that is the Ada. I just dunked it in and pulled it out, and already it is taking up the colour. That's the linen. Look at that. That is such a gorgeous colour. And that's the even weave. So we will just leave them in there. Now you might think that that's going to be too dark for what you want, but this is where it comes down to a little bit of your own preference now. So the longer you leave your fabric in the dye bath, the darker it is going to get. I have gone to all of this trouble of dyeing before, and I've dumped fabric in and pulled it straight back out and gone, yes, that is the colour and the hue that I want, and I have then gone and rinsed it out and started the finishing process. Simple as that. You can leave it in there for a minute, 5 minutes, or half an hour. So I think I'm going to leave this for, I'll say 15 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll see what the colour's like and whether it's as dark as I want it. I mean, that is nearly the colour I want it to be. But I will leave it there for 15 minutes. And we will see how it goes. So that is the first step of dyeing, or fabric dyeing. Usually I'll just go, while that's happening, what is the time? Yep, so 2:30, I will come back. So now, while that's sitting in the dye bath, I will just go and clean out any of my tools, any of the pipettes that I've used, just so the dye doesn't sit in there and dry. Now, as I said, this is the full immersion technique. So this is where you use, and if you're doing it in your bathroom, like I am, it's a good idea to wash the dye off your white bathtub as you're going, so it doesn't stain. I do have a few stains on my bathtub from previous dyeings. You can always use your steel tub in your laundry, which is probably a better idea, but my laundry isn't an ideal place to be filming in, so the bathroom it is. That's all of that. As I said, this is the full immersion technique, so that's why you have extra water, so you don't get, so it's basically the fabric is swimming in the water. You don't get the mottling as you would with the partial immersion. You can always just use a pair of tongs as well, just to mix that, just to shift the fabric around to make sure it's not folding over on itself too much. But that is such a lovely colour. Sorry, that was probably a bit loud, that banging. leave those in there. All right, so that's step one. I will be back in 15 minutes to check the color of this fabric and then possibly start with the next step. See you shortly. All right, so it has been 15 minutes and I'm back to check on the color of this fabric. That's the linen and that's the Aida. And as you can see, it has got quite a bit darker. So I am happy with that color. I don't want it to be any darker than that. So I am going to tip this out. Just put that over there. Move those other plug holes so the water can drain. All right. So now all I do is in warm... actually, I'll go cold water. In cold water, I will just rinse these fabrics out until they run clear. So much easier to rinse out than a red dye. Trust me. If you go back to some of my first videos, I'd done a fabric dyeing tutorial and I used a red dye and it looked like there had been a massacre in the bathtub, literally. And it took me forever to rinse the red dye out of the fabric. Just grab these bits that I've pulled off and put over here. So already you can see the difference in the colors, and this isn't even dry. So that is the 20 count even weave, and it is a lighter color. And that's the linen, which is a lovely, lovely purple, but it is darker than the even weave. And then you have the Aida, which is a darker color again, and then even the linen. So that, I mean, this is wet. It should lighten up a little bit once it dries. So that is the next, that's the second step of that of my dyeing process. Now, sorry, just making a bit of noise because I'm just grabbing a cake pan. Now I'm going to just whack these in here any old way. It doesn't really matter how you put them in. Just like that. Alright, so now what we're going to do is put them in the oven. Sorry, you're going to see my fat belly for the moment while I grab some foil. So I'm just going to cover these over. This is so they don't burn in the oven. And I'll just whack them in the oven. I'll turn it on. Put it on bake. There we go. So I'm going to leave it at the 180, but I'm going to change the time down to 10 minutes and start it. And that is just so that the heat of the oven sets that dye in that fabric just that little bit more. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. All right, so this is finished in the oven. So what I'm going to do is just take it out and throw it into the washing machine. As you can see, there is a few little burn marks from where it's been on the metal, but that'll be fine. So just put it in the washing machine. I have put the washing machine onto the quick wash, which is only 20 minutes. I have thrown a soap in there as well. So we will wait until that is done, and then I'll throw them in the dryer for half an hour to dry. I could put them out on the line, but it's going to take longer to dry. So I'll just put them in the dryer once they're done in the washing machine. Alright guys, so the fabric's been washed and it's been thrown into the dryer, and now it's all dry. So now you can see the dried or dry colour of the fabrics. So you can see the three fabrics there. We've got the even weave up here. This is the linen and that's the Aida. Let me just move these out. So the even weave, you can see that it is quite a bit paler than the other two. Like it is barely taken the color up at all. Now, as I said, that's because even weave fabrics have a bit of synthetic fibers in them. So your all-purpose dyes won't actually take to the fabric as well. You will get a darker color, but you'd have to go and re-dye it probably another 2 or 3 times. So you're better off just buying the synthetic dye. I think, what was it called? Rit dye more or whatever, which is for your synthetic fabrics. If you're planning on dyeing even weave, so any 25, 28 counts, you will need your synthetic dyes. Now we have the linen, which has taken the colour really well. As you can see, it is lighter than what it was as a wet fabric, obviously, but that is still a lovely colour. It's still a little lighter than the Aida, which is right here beside it. So the Aida is darker again. Now that's just because of the weave of the fabrics and stuff like that. So Aida has a, what can I say? It's probably got a more open weave, possibly, than the linens. Linens tend to have a bit of a tighter weave. Ada's more open, more of an open weave. But yeah, so the linen has taken the colour really well. It's still the same hue, it's just a little bit lighter. And then of course the Ada is the darker colour, which is what I wanted. You will see that there's a couple of little scorch marks there. That's from when I put it in the oven and it got stuck to the metal tray. Now, to avoid that from happening, you can put a little bit of water in the bottom of the tray so it doesn't actually stick to the tray, or make sure that your fabric is wetter than what I probably had it. Don't squeeze it out as much as what I did. But that's all right. There's a couple of scorch marks on this one as well, which you can barely see, but that is in the frame, in the excess that I always put 3 inches on my fabric sizes anyway. But yeah, so that is your 3 colors. They're the way your fabric dyes over 3 different fabrics. So as I said, I'm not a scientist. I can't explain correctly how and why there are your different color variations using the same dye bath, but that is the reason why I thought with this one anyway. I won't do it with my others, but I just thought with this one being the first one, I would show how there is the difference in how the fabrics take up the dye. So yeah, definitely use your synthetic dyes for your even weaves. All-purpose dyes will work fine for your linens and your Adas because they are both cotton fabrics. But yeah, that is the first dyeing video that I am going to do in this series. I think I've got another 5 or 6 techniques that I am going to get around to showing one day. But yes, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a little bit of confidence to give fabric dyeing a go. There is no mistakes in fabric dyeing. You can just try it again. And if you don't like the color that you've done the first time, just throw it into another dye bath with a different color and over dye it in a different color. That is going to be one of my other videos, is to over dye a fabric to get it a different color or add an extra color to it that you might not have had, or you might want to put a different color. But yeah, that will be another video. But yeah, give dyeing a go. It is fun. Once you get started, you probably won't want to stop. You'll find it's another hobby or offshoot hobby yet again of our craft of cross stitching. And yeah, I mean, fabrics are easy enough to come by and dyes are available everywhere. So yeah, go ahead, give it a go yourself. All right, guys, I'll leave it as that. I will see you in my next video, whenever that shall be. Wherever you are in the world, please take care and stay safe. Bye bye for now.